YouTube? This is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got your Week 5 wide receiver edition for your start and sits. Make sure you guys are prepared. There obviously is a Thursday night game. We do have a Sunday early game as well in London. So again, make sure you guys are prepared for that. Also, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell is on. It is greatly appreciated. This is always going to be based off of full PPR and half PPR. So make sure you guys always are prepared for that. If it is standard, of course, you could always ask us in the comments down below. Now, these are your fantasy leaders so far with about a quarter of the season in. These are your top 10 fantasy wide receivers. There are definitely some standouts, and there are definitely some players you probably already knew who was going to be there. But these are your guys who are in the top 10. Now, these are also your obvious starts for this week. These wide receivers should be your lineup without question, without doubt, no matter the matchup, no matter what is going on, unless there is an injury like, for example, Amon-Ra. We have to keep an eye on that. But these are your obvious starts. Now, the first receiver I have as a good start is going to be Robert Woods against the Commanders. Right now, with Burks possibly being out, he's doubtful right now this week. Woods really is going to be the wide receiver one on this offense. He's been playing that way typically anyways, but with having a talent like Burks on the outside, it actually really helped, obviously. With that said, the Commanders do give up the third most points to wide receivers with 47.2. They're also allowing 208 yards to the receivers, and they're averaging 2 touchdowns to receivers as well. So this is a really good matchup for Tannehill, who I had as a good start, and I like Robert Woods as well this week as a good start because the Commanders defense just can't seem to stop anybody, and this is a good one for him. Now, another receiver I have is in that same game. I have Terry McLaurin against the Titans. Titans do allow 42.7 points to wide receivers and just around 200 receiving yards as well. They're allowing a receiving touchdown as well to the receivers and 13 receptions as a whole. Now, McLaurin is the number one guy. You do got Dotson, who's been a phenomenal red zone receiver. Curtis Samuel's kind of been all over the place, that Debo-like type player, but I like McLaurin in this turnaround. I think this is a really matchup. There's a chance that Samuel doesn't play. We'll keep an eye on that, but I do like this as a turnaround. Like I said, I mentioned this is a game that could be pretty high scoring, as weird as it sounds, because the defenses aren't playing up to par and they're not able to stop anybody. So I like those players there. Last guy I have as a good start is going to be Chris Godwin. Now, he played last week for the first time. He's going against the Falcons this week. Godwin should play this week as well. He's been participating in practices, which is great. This matchup is perfect for him as well. Last week, he had 13 targets and 10 receptions. Didn't go crazy in that game, but he was just always open and getting the ball for Tom Brady. And I do see that as another one for him. He's probably going to get about 6 to 8 targets easily in this game. And A.J. Terrell is going to be covering Evans, who I still have as a good start, but Terrell's been a phenomenal cornerback who could shut down Evans, which is going to allow Godwin to constantly be open. So I like him this week. Now, a receiver I don't like this week is going to be Allen Lazard. Lazard's going against the Giants, who are allowed the fewest points to wide receivers with 23.6. They're also keeping wide receivers combined under 26 combined yards, which is amazing. On top of that, Aaron Rodgers still does not have the full faith in Lazard and his receiving core. Lazard is going to be targeted just because he is the number one receiver, but I don't like this matchup at all for him to start. Another receiver I don't like is going to be Devonta Smith this week against the Cardinals. Cardinals are allowing only 30.2 points to receivers. They're also keeping receivers combined under 140 receiving yards. Smith can be hit or miss. He's that type of receiver where he can have a boom game like he did earlier in the season, and then he can have games where he just completely disappears. And the fact that this is more of a rushing offense, and you still have A.J. Brown, who's really your top tier receiver, Goddard's in the mix, Miles Sanders, Gainwell. There's so many weapons for the Eagles that Devontae could easily be kind of forgotten about in this one, and I don't like his matchup. Another receiver I don't like is going to be the Thursday night receiver, Michael Pittman, going against the Broncos. Broncos, this was going to be a little different, right? You're going to start Pittman if you don't really have a lot of options, just because he is probably one of your better receivers, and he is going to get targeted in this game, don't get me wrong, with Jonathan Taylor out. But I don't like him in this matchup because the Broncos are third against the receivers, only allowing 24.4 points and keeping receivers under 120 yards. So that's a big deal. Surtain right now has played great and been able to really stop the receiver position. And again, I don't feel comfortable putting Pittman in if I can prevent it. Now, as far as my sleepers go, I've got Christian Kirk as a good sleeper this week against the Texans. We're almost at a point where he's not going to be a sleeper or start. He's going to be almost a must start every single week. But this matchup isn't perfect, but I do like this matchup against the Texans because the Texans are allowing 170 receiving yards. They're also allowing targets. And Kirk right now should have a really good turnaround this week with Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball. It could be a game where they might be up big and then it's just a running game where James Robinson really takes over. But I still like Kirk in the red zone in this opportunity. So I have him as a good sleeper. Another receiver I have as a good sleeper is DK Metcalf this week. Going against the Saints. He's most likely going to be covered by Marshawn Lattimore, who has done a pretty good job. But Marshawn has allowed 6 points to the receivers. And on top of that, Metcalf does get moved around a lot. So as long as he gets at least those 6 to 7 points in fantasy against Marshawn, plus the rest when he runs into the slot in opposite corner, he's going to easily allow to get you some points there. Saints are allowing 35 points to the receivers and 173 yards as well. But this is a nice, sneaky 15 to 18 point performance I believe DK Metcalf can do. So those are my start, sits, and sleepers for the wide receiver position. Again, if you guys have questions of who you should start in your lineup, always hit us up in the comments as well. If you guys haven't already, check out our quarterback and running back videos as well. We'll be dropping our tight end video in there soon too. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys did enjoy the content, make sure, again, you are subscribed to the channel and make sure you hit that like button. It is greatly appreciated. If you guys do have questions, again, hit us in the comments and I'll check you guys out next time.